What's going on, you guys? It's your huggable hipster here, and welcome to a new schedule. It's a new year. Well, not new year yet. It'll be new year in a month. A new schedule, new me, new consequences, new meanings behind life entirely. I'm going to be posting my schedule also on the YouTube About Me section. You guys are having a good morning. Happy 7 a.m. in the morning. I'm tired. And we're also going to be having a stream today at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. EST, so if you guys are around, be sure to check out my Twitch channel. It's down in the description below. Today, we are reviewing Little Nightmares. This game has a lot of questions lingering inside my soul, and hopefully I'm going to address some of them for you guys today. Now, I entitled this article, The Beast Within Her Choice, a Little Nightmares review, and I thought it was actually... I was pretty spot on. Not to toot my own horn, but I was pretty spot on. Considering the fact that this character, which is an adorable little girl named Six, she goes from having a piece of bread that somebody gave her to having a piece of raw meat to then having a rat to then having a gnome to then having the lady for dinner. Like, really is the beast within her choice. Out of breath, tossing and turning in a restless effort to escape the nightmare from within, Six, a 9-year-old little girl in a boat-like prison called the Maw, tries to escape a world filled with dangerous creatures, traps, and secrets that within this 2D platformer even had me shook. As a person who is somewhat I would say not somewhat, entirely desensitized to a lot of horror games after I've played a lot of them, in this video game there were moments where I genuinely was surprised, and that doesn't happen often. Spoiler alert, I love being surprised. I love whenever that happens. Whenever a game can genuinely take me by surprise, it makes me have hope that games in the future are going to do more of that, because not only were the characters diverse, but it actually had like twists and plot turns that I didn't even expect. But at the same token, a lot of it was predictable at the same time, like the movements, the way you turned, the way you climbed different things. The actions were more so predictable in the story, which I probably should have clarified in my article, but the actions, the way you grabbed onto things and where you would go from place to place, were more predictable than the story itself. I'll get into the controls later on in this review, but they're interesting. Where did it all come from? As we know, as soon as you enter into the game Little Nightmares, you are not given any notes, which, kind of refreshing. Let's be real here. It's refreshing that this game did not have notes, because every horror game you see notes. You pick up a note that says, beware, this bridge is old. Not given any real indication of who you are or where you are, for that matter. We are given as a geisha that we had in a nightmare. We have a little kid in a raincoat that we are unsure of the gender and age of until I did some research on it. We have gnomes and we have geisha dolls that we are supposed to break. I didn't know that you were supposed to break them actually until like much later on in the game. Kind of did it by accident. Like, I pressed the A button by accident, which is supposed to toggle the tossy mechanism thing that they have. And I was like, oh, okay, you're meant to break that. Cool. There was a lot of confusion upon starting this game, even upon finishing it, because you had no indication on anything. The only real thing that gave me any sort of indication of names were the achievements that I got when completing each chapter in the game. Even with that, I don't think I even remember Six's name really appearing in any of the achievements or ending parts of the chapter achievements. And going further into the game, you get more pieces of symbolism, abstract concepts, and eyes. Lots of eyes. Now this is where the fight begins. During the beginning, we encounter these adorable creatures known as gnomes. Now in the game, I found out that these gnomes are actually kids. They used to be children who were captured in the maw that the lady actually sucked the soul out of, and they turned into these little adorable creatures. And there are actually 13 gnomes that you can capture within the game for an achievement you can unlock called Lost Little Things. Which I didn't think about this when I was writing the article, but since the lady turns these once used to be children into gnomes, and the children don't really trust anybody, like they don't even trust Six, like there are only 13 of them amongst the many that you can capture. Could that be referencing like it could possibly be taking like a stab at orphanages, how the kids are just so not willing to trust a lot of people with how many families they've been in and how many foster parents they've had to experience. So it could be playing on that factor, but I'm unsure. Now I did some digging and I found out that the DLC for Little Nightmares, the Runaway Kid, as people have coined it, the Runaway Kid is actually the gnome that Six engulfs and eats whenever she eats. The gnome that kindly gives her a sausage to consume rather than him. That kind of caught me off guard. I probably should have waited to play the DLC to find that out, but the fact that the gnome is the runaway kid, just with his soul sucked out, my mind is kind of blown by that. So technically, whenever Six ate the gnome, she ate a child. But I have to do a psychologically gaming about this. Now, as we really get into the meat of the game, we see a lot of nooses and a lot of dark ambiance that really engulfs us in mood and spirit. Since this isn't a psychologically gaming review, I won't go too in-depth into it, but I am going to be discussing it further down the line in psychologically gaming reviews of each character. But this part of the game, since it is the first part, is definitely more gut-wrenching, I think, than the rest, even though the rest has its own ambiance. It has its own very distinctive taste as far as how it goes about things. There's a lot of symbolism that we encounter with nooses, cigarettes everywhere, a man hanging from the ceiling. There's a lot to take in. Later on in the game, we encounter our first monster / worker of the maw. It is the Janitor. Now, the Janitor is the only character in the game that Six actually kills. Every other character she runs away from or just avoids entirely. The creature has long arms and a sense of smell that would make a dog jealous. Even with this character not being able to see, it made me think of the hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil concept. Now, as we continue on away from the Janitor, there are these security systems that we will see periodically through the game called the iv'e. I think it's just called the eyes, like the big brother looking over the entire game. I'm guessing they're to watch over the children of the maw, and while Big Brother watches Six, they're not seeing the true evil, or maybe corruption just has selective viewing. What I saw that was really intriguing, like I said at the beginning of this review, is that, Six had levels of hunger that she would go through. It would be really violent towards the end. At first, it was just a piece of bread, fairly innocent, fairly early on in the game, that another member, which I'm guessing, by the way, the person who threw the piece of bread to her was a runaway kid. Take a wild guess on that. She eats a raw piece of meat, then a rat, then a gnome, and then the lady. Which she really just goes from I'm hungry to I'm hangry to I'm a full-on cannibal. There are different theories and reasons as to why children are kept here in this prison, in this maw area, and a lot of people, including myself, think that they are being cooked up for the guests that enter into the boat later on in the game. Now, going into the next part, we encountered the chefs of the game, the twin chefs, who have to be two of the most interesting characters besides the lady, in my opinion. For big gluttonous creatures, they were surprisingly fast, and they made lots of weird noises while they cooked. I want a receipt on the meal that they made for me, seriously. But as you defeat the chefs, well, not necessarily defeat them, as you get away from them in a ninja-like fashion, not hastily at all and getting captured several times. You go above to the certain part of the ship where you see guests coming in, and you see these gluttonous creatures. Again, I'm referencing gluttonous creatures because I had this theory, this idea that, again, the game was playing on the mythos of the 7 deadly sins. And I did not reference this in the article because I want to leave it for a psychologically gaming review, but the 7 deadly sins has gluttony as one of them. Creatures that are consuming so much to a point of being sick and have this kind of, I want to say, eroticness behind food. They consider it like sex almost. Gluttonous creatures try to eat Six, and this is where we get the name the maw from. Now, the word maw is actually a real word. It is the throat or jaws of a voracious animal. Six in the jaws of the maw, which I love the play on words. I love the fact that they use that and called this place the maw. It's really cool. Now, a lot of the aesthetics in the game, as we get towards the end of the game in Chapter 5, are based upon Chinese decor, which I don't see in a lot of horror games, so points for originality right there. Also, something I'd like to point out is the masks. We have the guests who are wearing them, we have the lady who wears them, and we have the chefs who wear the masks as well. The masks that the guests were wearing were more symbolic with the Chinese culture because they have the bigger eyebrows, they have the eyeshadow, the red lipstick, and they have the 2 red dots on the cheek, which are actually symbolic with both Chinese and South Korean culture. The 2 red dots on the cheeks are actually symbolic of Chinese and Korean culture, where those are meant to drive away evil forces. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, for Korean culture, it's used during weddings to drive away evil forces. I'll have to look it up and put it in the links below for you guys so you can do your own mythos research as well. Later on, we get to the ending portion of the game where we see the ladies' quarters. Now, this is by far one of my favorite parts of the game. It's so eerie and it's so kind of morbid in a sense. We hear a mournful song sung by her as we witness her brushing her hair in a broken mirror. Now in this section, all the mirrors are broken. She does not look at herself in any of the mirrors, and she bears a mask to hide her identity. Now as the game comes to a close, we have a boss battle with the lady, which by the way, it's an easy boss battle if you just get the hang of it. I had like a couple of like parts at the beginning where I was unsure, and then it just, you know, it picks up the pace and you get with it. With the mirrors, the game plays on the lore of Medusa, that if you stare into the mirror, if she stared into herself, she would turn into stone. She wasn't able to look at her own reflection, and she sucks other souls, and she's just one of those creatures that is constantly hangry. We defeat the lady, weakened her, and then Six proceeds to eat her, absorbing her powers, which I called it. I really didn't want to be right about that, but I called it. Now, a lot of people have also been saying that this game is based off of the fact that when Six absorbs the lady's powers, she becomes the little nightmare, which that's cute. I'm not sure if I want to get behind the idea of that, but it's a plausible theory, and I think it's really adorable. The way this game is designed, not really revealing much, has me both peeved and intrigued to play the next one. I'm actually really excited to play the next one because I love the gameplay, I love the 2D structure, I love the graphics, I love oh my god, the music. Oh my god, the music is just so good. Now, considering the fact that the controls are a tad annoying in certain parts whenever you're jumping from different places, it's just, it gets cumbersome for no reason, and that's just a very nitpicky thing that I have about it. Now, I would strongly give this game a 9.5 out of 10 coffee mugs. Well, giving it that because it didn't explain much of the story as we were going into it. Again, having me in both suspension and agony at the same time, probably good for the developers because they're like, we have all the answers. The game as a whole, take away all the nitpicky things I just said, it's absolutely brilliant. The graphics are amazing, the music incredible, the characters are so unique in design and context. This is what I'm looking for from a video game whenever I see monsters, whenever I see different characters. All the characters in this game are so unique and so individualistic from one another. There's not just one character and then there was a model that was made from that character to make several more characters. This is completely unique, it's completely individualistic, and they're all created with their own different personalities, which I absolutely love. And also, can we just say the gnomes are adorable? They're cute. Like, if they ever made a plushie of the gnome, I would snatch that up so quickly. But that was my review of Little Nightmares, you guys. I'm so excited. The next game that we're going to be starting to play is Vampire on the Twitch channel today, so be sure to check that out. If you guys like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below because I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. EST. We're doing morning uploads now. Dear God. Stay casually nerdy, you guys, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.